The paradox of humanity. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the Zarkonian exploration vessel, Stellar Seeker. Captain Zorax stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded him. The ship had been traversing this unexplored sector of the galaxy for what felt like an eternity, searching for signs of intelligent life. "Captain," called out Science Officer Vexila, her voice tinged with excitement. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the 3rd planet of this solar system." Zorax's antenna twitched with interest. "On screen," he commanded. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a blue and green orb suspended in the darkness of space. White wisps of clouds swirled across its surface, and the telltale lights of civilization glimmered on the night side of the planet. "Fascinating," Zorax murmured. "What can you tell me about this world, Vexila?" The science officer's fingers danced across her console as she analyzed the data pouring in from the ship's sensors. The planet's atmosphere is primarily nitrogen and oxygen. Surface temperature and gravity are within habitable ranges for carbon-based life forms. And the energy signatures, they're consistent with a civilization in the early stages of space exploration. Zorax felt a surge of excitement course through his body. The Zarkonian Empire had encountered other species before, but most were primitive or long extinct. To find a budding spacefaring civilization was a rare and precious discovery. "Initiate first contact protocols," Zorax ordered. "We'll observe them for now and gather more information before making our presence known." For the next several days, the Stellar Seeker maintained a discreet orbit around Earth, hidden from the planet's rudimentary detection systems. The Zarkonians watched in fascination as they pieced together the complexities of human civilization. They observed the sprawling cities that dotted the planet's surface, marveling at the diversity of architecture and the constant flow of vehicles. They intercepted radio and television broadcasts, struggling to decipher the multitude of languages and cultures that coexisted on this single world. What struck the Zarkonians most was the sheer diversity of human endeavors. In one part of the world, they witnessed humans pushing the boundaries of scientific knowledge, while in another, they saw people creating breathtaking works of art. They observed acts of kindness and compassion alongside displays of conflict and aggression. "I've never seen anything like this," Vexila admitted to Captain Zorax as they reviewed the latest data. "The humans are so contradictory. They possess the capacity for great violence, yet they also demonstrate remarkable empathy and cooperation." Zorax nodded thoughtfully. "It's their adaptability that intrigues me. Look at how quickly they've advanced their technology in just the last century of their history. It's unprecedented." As the days passed, the crew of the Stellar Seeker became increasingly captivated by humanity. They debated endlessly about the potential of these strange, bipedal creatures and what their emergence onto the galactic stage might mean for the Zarkonian Empire. Finally, after weeks of observation, Captain Zorax made a decision. "It's time," he announced to his senior staff. "We will initiate direct contact with the humans." The announcement sent a ripple of excitement and apprehension through the crew. First contact was always a delicate operation, fraught with potential misunderstandings and dangers. But it was also an opportunity to expand the boundaries of knowledge and forge new alliances. Zorax chose to make contact with a mid-sized nation that seemed to balance technological advancement with diplomatic neutrality. The Stellar Seeker decloaked in low Earth orbit, making no attempt to hide its presence from the planet's sensors. As expected, the reaction was immediate. Earth's military forces went on high alert, and global communication networks exploded with the news of the alien ship. Panicked reports and wild speculation spread across the planet like wildfire. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface," reported Communications Officer Krelzar. "It's a request for us to identify ourselves, broadcast on multiple frequencies." Zorax took a deep breath, acutely aware that his next words would shape the course of history for both species. "Open a channel," he ordered, "and initiate the Universal Translation Matrix." The view screen flickered to life, showing the image of a human female in a formal suit, her face a mask of composure despite the momentous occasion. "This is Dr. Elena Rodriguez, speaking on behalf of the United Nations of Earth," she said, her voice steady. "We request that you identify yourselves and state your intentions." Captain Zorax stepped forward, his tall, insectoid form a stark contrast to the human on the screen. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Captain Zorax of the Zarkonian Empire. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations with your world." Dr. Rodriguez's eyes widened slightly, but she maintained her professional demeanor. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you, Captain Zorax. Your arrival marks a historic moment for our species. We have many questions and, I'm sure, much to discuss." "Indeed," Zorax agreed. "We have been observing your world for some time, and we find your species fascinating. We propose a face-to-face meeting to begin formal diplomatic discussions." There was a brief pause as Dr. Rodriguez conferred with others off-screen. "We accept your proposal," she finally replied. "We will prepare a secure location for our meeting. Please understand that we must take precautions to ensure the safety of both our peoples." Zorax nodded in understanding. "Of course, we respect your need for caution. We will await your instructions and comply with any reasonable security measures." As the transmission ended, Zorax turned to his crew. "Prepare a diplomatic team," he ordered. "We're about to make history." The next few days were a flurry of activity both on Earth and aboard the Stellar Seeker. News of the impending meeting spread across the globe, sparking a mix of excitement, fear, and speculation. Governments scrambled to form a unified response, while religious leaders grappled with the theological implications of extraterrestrial life. On the day of the meeting, a small shuttle departed from the Stellar Seeker, carrying Captain Zorax and a select team of diplomats and scientists. As they descended through Earth's atmosphere, Zorax marveled at the beauty of the planet. The blue oceans, green continents, and swirling white clouds were unlike anything in the Zarkonian Empire. The shuttle landed at a remote military base that had been hastily converted into a neutral meeting ground. A delegation of human representatives from various nations waited on the tarmac, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension as the alien visitors emerged from their craft. Captain Zorax stepped forward, his tall form towering over the humans. He raised his upper right hand in a gesture of peace, a motion that had been carefully chosen based on their observations of human body language. "People of Earth," he said, his words translated in real time for the human delegation. "We come before you not as conquerors or saviors, but as fellow travelers in the vast cosmic ocean. We seek to learn from you as much as we hope to share our own knowledge and culture." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward to greet the alien captain. "Captain Zorax, on behalf of humanity, we welcome you to Earth. Your presence here today opens a new chapter in human history. We approach this meeting with open minds and hopeful hearts." As the two leaders shook hands, Zorax awkwardly attempting to mimic the human custom, cameras flashed and reporters from around the world broadcast the historic moment to billions of viewers. The initial meetings were tense and filled with cautious exchanges. The humans, naturally, had countless questions about the Zarkonians, their civilization, and their technology. The Zarkonians, in turn, were endlessly curious about human culture, history, and biology. As the days passed, both sides began to relax, and genuine connections started to form. The Zarkonians were impressed by humanity's resilience and creativity, while the humans were in awe of the advanced technology and scientific knowledge of their alien visitors. One evening, as Captain Zorax sat in his temporary quarters reviewing the day's events, he received an unexpected visitor. Dr. Rodriguez knocked on his door, looking slightly nervous. "Captain Zorax," she said, "I hope I'm not disturbing you. I was hoping we could speak privately." Intrigued, Zorax invited her in. "Of course, Dr. Rodriguez. How can I assist you?" The human scientist took a deep breath before speaking. I wanted to ask you something that's been on my mind since your arrival. Why us? Out of all the civilizations in the galaxy, why did you choose to make contact with humanity? Zorak's antenna twitched thoughtfully. An excellent question, Doctor. The truth is, your species fascinated us from the moment we discovered your world. You see, in our travels, we've encountered many civilizations, but none quite like yours. What do you mean? Dr. Rodriguez asked, her curiosity piqued. Most species we've encountered tend to evolve in a fairly linear fashion, Zorax explained. They progress from one stage of development to the next in a predictable pattern. But humans, you're different. You're unpredictable, adaptable, and incredibly diverse. He gestured to a window overlooking the Earth. In the span of a few centuries, you've gone from horse-drawn carriages to space exploration. You create breathtaking art and music, while also devising weapons of mass destruction. You wage wars over resources and ideology, yet you're capable of uniting in the face of global challenges. You're a paradox, Dr. Rodriguez, and that makes you uniquely interesting. Dr. Rodriguez listened intently, a mix of pride and humility in her expression. I'm not sure whether to be flattered or concerned by that assessment, she admitted with a small laugh. Zorax's mandibles clicked in what the humans had come to recognize as a smile. Be both, he said. Your capacity for greatness is matched only by your potential for self-destruction. But it's precisely this duality that makes us believe you have much to offer the galactic community. As their conversation continued into the night, neither Zorax nor Dr. Rodriguez could have predicted the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead. The road to true understanding between their species would be long and fraught with obstacles. But in that moment, as an alien and a human shared their hopes and fears under the light of a distant sun, the future seemed filled with limitless possibilities. The first contact between humanity and the Zarkonian Empire marked the beginning of a new era for both civilizations. It was a time of great change, of cultural exchange, and of confronting deep-seated assumptions about life in the universe. As news of the alien visitors spread across the globe, humanity stood on the precipice of a new age, ready to take its first tentative steps into a much larger, more complex galactic community. Cultural exchange. In the months following the historic first contact, Earth became a hub of interstellar activity. The Zarkonian Empire established a permanent embassy in a purpose-built complex near the United Nations headquarters in New York City. Meanwhile, a delegation of human diplomats, scientists, and cultural attaches embarked on a journey to the Zarkonian homeworld, eager to learn about their new alien allies. Captain Zorax, now promoted to ambassador, found himself at the center of this whirlwind of cultural exchange. He marveled at the speed with which humans adapted to the presence of aliens among them. Within weeks, Zarkonians walking down the streets of major cities had become a common sight, attracting more curious stares than fearful glances. One crisp autumn morning, Ambassador Zorax stood before a packed auditorium at Harvard University. He had been invited to give a series of lectures on Zarkonian history and culture, part of a broader initiative to foster understanding between the two species. The Zarkonian Empire, Zorax began, his translated voice echoing through the hall, spans over 1,000 star systems and encompasses dozens of sentient species. Yet, in all our millennia of exploration, we have never encountered a civilization quite like yours. He went on to describe the hierarchical nature of Zarkonian society, emphasizing their focus on collective harmony and technological advancement. The students listened in rapt attention, their minds struggling to grasp the scale and complexity of a multi-planet civilization. After the lecture, a young human approached Zorax, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Ambassador," she said, "I'm fascinated by your species' emphasis on collective harmony. How do you handle dissent or individual ambitions that might disrupt that harmony?" Zorax's antenna twitched, a sign of contemplation that the humans had come to recognize. "An excellent question," he replied. "In our society, individuals are encouraged to channel their ambitions into pursuits that benefit the collective. Dissent, when it occurs, is carefully evaluated for its potential to improve our society. If deemed valuable, it's integrated into our systems. If not, the dissenting individual is helped to understand the greater good. The student nodded, but Zorax noticed a slight furrowing of her brow. He was learning to read human expressions, and this one suggested a mix of interest and concern. It was a reaction he was encountering more frequently as humans delved deeper into the intricacies of Zarkonian culture. Meanwhile, on the Zarkonian homeworld of Zarkon Prime, Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team were having their own revelations. They stood in awe before the towering spires of the Imperial Palace, a structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The entire building is held together by a network of gravitational fields, explained their Zarkonian guide, Vexela, the former science officer of the Stellar Seeker. It allows us to create structures that would be impossible with traditional construction methods. Dr. Rodriguez shook her head in amazement. The applications for this technology are endless, she mused. It could revolutionize construction, transportation, even space exploration. Vexela nodded, her mandibles clicking in what the humans now recognized as a smile. Indeed, we are eager to share such advancements with humanity. Your species' innovative thinking could unlock potential we haven't even considered. As the cultural exchange progressed, both species found much to admire in each other. Humans were in awe of Zarkonian technology and their harmonious society. The Zarkonians, in turn, were captivated by human creativity, art, and the sheer diversity of cultures coexisting on a single planet. However, as the initial excitement of first contact began to wane, underlying tensions started to emerge. The fundamental differences in how the two species viewed the universe and their place in it became increasingly apparent. One evening, at a diplomatic reception in Washington, D.C., Ambassador Zorax found himself in a heated discussion with a group of human politicians and business leaders. "With all due respect, Ambassador," said a prominent industrialist, "your society's approach to innovation seems incredibly inefficient. Imagine the advancements we could make if we combined your technology with our free market system." Zorax's antenna flattened against his head, a sign of disapproval. "Our system has served us well for millennia," he countered. "The pursuit of individual profit often leads to short-sighted decisions that harm the collective. We find your capitalist system equally inefficient, if not potentially dangerous." The conversation grew more tense as both sides defended their economic and social systems. It was a scene playing out with increasing frequency across the globe as humans and Zarkonians grappled with their differences. On Zarkon Prime, Dr. Rodriguez and her team were facing their own challenges. While they were making great strides in scientific collaboration, they found themselves constantly butting heads with Zarkonian authorities over issues of individual liberty and privacy. "I understand the benefits of your collective harmony," Dr. Rodriguez argued during a meeting with Zarkonian officials, "but surely you see the value in protecting individual rights and freedoms. The diversity of thought and expression is what drives human innovation." The Zarkonian Minister of Social Harmony chittered in frustration. "Dr. Rodriguez, we have observed the chaos and conflict that often results from your system of individual freedoms. While it may drive innovation, it also leads to inequality, social unrest, and environmental destruction. How can you justify such a system?" As these debates intensified, both on Earth and Zarkon Prime, a sense of unease began to permeate the relationship between the two species. The initial optimism of first contact was giving way to a growing realization of just how different their civilizations truly were. Adding to the tension was the issue of technology transfer. While the Zarkonians were willing to share some of their advanced technology, they were hesitant to provide humans with anything that could be used for military purposes. This caution stemmed from their observations of humanity's violent history and ongoing conflicts. Humans, for their part, were becoming increasingly frustrated with what they perceived as Zarkonian paternalism. Many argued that withholding technology was hindering Earth's ability to solve pressing global issues like climate change and energy scarcity. In response to these growing tensions, both governments agreed to establish a joint scientific mission. The goal was to foster closer cooperation and understanding by working together on a shared project. A team of human and Zarkonian scientists would travel to a newly discovered planet in a nearby star system, studying its unique ecosystem and searching for signs of ancient civilizations. As preparations for the mission got underway, hopes were high that this collaborative effort would help bridge the growing divide between the two species. Ambassador Zorax and Dr. Rodriguez, who had become the unofficial faces of this interstellar relationship, were particularly invested in its success. On the eve of the mission's launch, Zorax and Rodriguez met privately in the gardens of the Zarkonian embassy in New York. "I fear we're losing the momentum we had after first contact," Rodriguez confessed, her brow furrowed with concern. "This mission needs to succeed, not just scientifically, but diplomatically." Zorax's antenna drooped slightly, a sign of shared worry. "I agree, Elena. Our peoples have so much to offer each other, but our differences seem to be overshadowing our common goals. This mission is an opportunity to remind both humans and Zarkonians of what we can achieve together." As they spoke, neither could shake the feeling that they were standing at a crossroads. The success or failure of this joint mission could very well determine the future of human-Zarkonian relations. Little did they know that events were already in motion that would test the fledgling alliance between their species to its very limits. As the joint mission prepared to embark on its journey, forces on both sides were working to undermine the fragile peace, driven by fear, mistrust, and the age-old temptation of power. The cultural exchange between humans and Zarkonians had opened up new horizons for both civilizations, but it had also exposed deep-seated differences and insecurities. As the joint mission blasted off into the stars, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance, with the promise of either a new age of interstellar cooperation or a descent into conflict that could reshape the galaxy. The next chapter in the story of humanity's encounter with the Zarkonian Empire was about to unfold, and it would challenge everything both species thought they knew about themselves and each other. The incident, the joint human-Zarkonian mission to the newly discovered planet, dubbed Novus, had been underway for 3 months. The research vessel, Harmony, carried a crew of 20, 10 humans and 10 Zarkonians, each chosen for their expertise and their ability to work in a cross-species environment. Despite the growing tensions back home, the crew of the Harmony had formed a cohesive unit, united in their pursuit of scientific discovery. Dr. Samantha Chen, the human lead scientist, stood on the observation deck, gazing at the azure orb of Novus. The planet's twin moons cast a silvery glow across its cloud-streaked atmosphere, creating a breathtaking vista. "Beautiful, isn't it?" came a chittering voice beside her. Dr. Chen turned to see Xarlox, her Zarkonian counterpart, his 4 eyes also fixed on the planet below. "It never gets old," Chen agreed. "To think we're the first sentient beings to lay eyes on this world in possibly millions of years." Their moment of shared wonder was interrupted by an urgent call over the ship's comm system. "Dr. Chen, Xarlox, please report to the bridge immediately," came the voice of Captain Marcus Rivera. When they arrived, Rivera's face was grim. "We've detected an anomaly on the planet's surface," he explained, bringing up a holographic display of Novus. "It appears to be some sort of energy signature, unlike anything we've seen before." Xarlox's antenna twitched with excitement. Could it be evidence of the ancient civilization we've been searching for? "Possibly," Rivera nodded. "But here's the catch. The energy readings are increasing at an alarming rate. Whatever it is, it's active and potentially dangerous." Dr. Chen felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. "We need to investigate this immediately. If it is ancient technology, it could be unstable after all this time." The decision was made to send a small team to the surface. Dr. Chen and Xarlox would lead the expedition, accompanied by 2 security officers, 1 human and 1 Zarkonian. As their shuttle descended through Novus's atmosphere, the team could see the source of the energy readings, a massive, partially buried structure that pulsed with an eerie blue light. The shuttle landed a safe distance away, and the team donned their environmental suits before stepping out onto the alien world. Incredible, breathed Chen as they approached the structure. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Sarlox was equally awestruck. The architecture, it doesn't match any known species in our database. This truly is a new discovery. As they neared the entrance, the pulsing light grew more intense. Chen's handheld scanner beeped urgently. The energy readings are off the charts. We need to be careful. They entered the structure, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous interior. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move in the pulsating light. As they ventured deeper, they came upon a central chamber dominated by a large, crystalline object. This must be the power source, Sarlox observed, moving closer to examine it. Suddenly, the crystal flared with blinding intensity. Chen felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. Something's wrong, she managed to say before collapsing to the ground. When she regained consciousness, Chen found herself back on the Harmony in the ship's medical bay. Captain Rivera stood by her bedside, his expression grave. "What happened?" Chen asked, her head still spinning. Rivera sighed heavily. "We're not entirely sure. The energy pulse from that crystal knocked out all of you. We managed to bring you back, but what?" Chen pressed, a feeling of dread growing in her stomach. "Sarlox and the Zarkonian security officer, they're dead." The news hit Chen like a physical blow. She had worked closely with Sarlox for months, and despite their differences, she had come to consider him a friend. As Chen struggled to process this information, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Captain Rivera to the bridge immediately, came an urgent call over the comm system. "Stay here and rest," Rivera ordered Chen before rushing out. But Chen couldn't stay put. Despite the doctor's protests, she made her way to the bridge, arriving just in time to hear a transmission from Earth. "Repeat, this is an urgent message for the Harmony. We have received word from the Zarkonian Empire accusing us of sabotage and murder. They claim the deaths of their crew members were no accident. All diplomatic relations have been suspended. You are ordered to return to Earth immediately." The bridge fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. Chen felt as if the floor had dropped out from beneath her feet. How could this be happening? Captain Rivera turned to her, his face a mask of concern. "Dr. Chen, I need you to tell me exactly what happened down there. The fate of our two worlds may depend on it." As Chen recounted the events on Novus, her mind raced. How could the Zarkonians believe this was sabotage? Surely they must realize it was a tragic accident. But as the Harmony broke orbit and began its journey back to Earth, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at play. The tensions that had been simmering between humans and Zarkonians for months had finally boiled over, and this incident had provided the spark. Back on Earth, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Ambassador Zorax had been recalled to Zarkon Prime, leaving behind a vacuum in diplomatic relations. Anti-alien protests erupted in major cities around the world, fueled by fear and misinformation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself working tirelessly to salvage the situation. She had been in constant communication with her contacts on Zarkon Prime, trying to convince them that the deaths on Novus were a tragic accident, not an act of sabotage. But her efforts seemed to be in vain. The Zarkonian media was awash with accusations of human treachery, painting the incident as a deliberate attack on their people. Calls for retaliation grew louder with each passing day. As the Harmony approached Earth, tensions reached a fever pitch. A Zarkonian battlecruiser had taken up position just outside the Moon's orbit, its presence a clear threat. Earth's military forces were on high alert, ready to defend the planet at a moment's notice. When the Harmony finally docked at the International Space Station, Dr. Chen and the rest of the crew were immediately quarantined and subjected to intense debriefing. Chen found herself recounting the events on Novus over and over to military officers, government officials, and scientists. "I'm telling you, it was an accident," she insisted for what felt like the 100th time. "That crystal, whatever it was, it reacted to our presence. There was no sabotage." But her words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The political machine had already spun the incident into a narrative of Zarkonian aggression and human victimhood. Few seemed interested in the truth of what had happened on Novus. As days turned into weeks, the situation continued to deteriorate. The Zarkonian Empire had closed its borders to all human traffic, effectively cutting off the fledgling interstellar trade that had been developing. Human colonies on distant worlds found themselves isolated, cut off from support and supplies. In a last-ditch effort to prevent all-out war, the United Nations convened an emergency session. Dr. Rodriguez, as one of the few humans with extensive experience in Zarkonian culture, was called to address the assembly. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "we stand at a crossroads. The path we choose today will determine the future not just of humanity, but of our place in the galactic community." She went on to outline the events on Novus as reported by Dr. Chen, emphasizing the accidental nature of the tragedy. "We cannot allow fear and mistrust to destroy everything we've built," she pleaded. "We must reach out to the Zarkonians to find a peaceful resolution before it's too late." But even as Rodriguez spoke, reports came flooding in of Zarkonian ships mobilizing across the galaxy. The Empire, it seemed, had made its decision. As the UN session dissolved into chaos, Dr. Chen watched the proceedings from her quarantine room, a sense of helplessness washing over her. How had it come to this? A simple scientific mission had somehow spiraled into the brink of interstellar war. In the days that followed, humanity found itself facing an unprecedented crisis. The long-held dream of peaceful contact with an alien civilization had turned into a nightmare. As military forces around the world prepared for a conflict unlike any in human history, the people of Earth looked to the stars with a mixture of fear and determination. The incident on Novus had shattered the fragile peace between humans and Zarkonians, exposing the deep-seated mistrust and misunderstandings that had been simmering beneath the surface. Now, as both civilizations teetered on the brink of war, the true test of humanity's resilience and ingenuity was about to begin. Little did they know that this crisis would reveal aspects of both species that would challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy and define the future of both humanity and the Zarkonian Empire. The ultimatum. The tension in the United Nations Security Council chamber was palpable. World leaders and top military brass sat in grim silence as they watched the holographic projection of Ambassador Zorax, his insectoid features set in what humans had come to recognize as an expression of cold determination. "People of Earth," Zorax began, his translated voice echoing through the chamber, "the Zarkonian Empire has shown you nothing but goodwill since our first contact. We shared our knowledge, our technology, and our vision of a harmonious galaxy. And how have you repaid us? With treachery and violence." The ambassador's antenna quivered with barely contained anger. "The murder of our citizens on Novus was the final straw. We now see that humanity is not ready to join the galactic community. Your species is too fractious, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed free rein among the stars." A collective intake of breath swept through the chamber as Zorax delivered his ultimatum. "Therefore, the Zarkonian Empire demands the immediate and unconditional surrender of Earth and all its colonies. Submit to our guidance, and we will lead you towards true harmony. Resist, and we will be forced to take more drastic measures." As the transmission ended, the chamber erupted into chaos. Shouted arguments in a dozen languages filled the air as world leaders grappled with the magnitude of the threat. In the midst of the uproar, Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in stunned silence. She had worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between humans and Zarkonians, and now it seemed that all her efforts had been for naught. The UN Secretary-General finally managed to restore order. We need to formulate a response, she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Dr. Rodriguez, as our foremost expert on Zarkonian culture, what's your assessment? Rodriguez took a deep breath before speaking. The Zarkonians value harmony above all else. In their view, they're not conquering us. They're trying to save us from ourselves. But they fundamentally misunderstood human nature. We thrive on diversity, on the exchange of ideas, on the very conflict they seek to eliminate. So you're saying we can't accept their demands? The US president interjected. Absolutely not, Rodriguez confirmed. Submitting to Zarkonian rule would mean the end of everything that makes us human. We need to make them understand that our differences are our strength, not our weakness. As the debate raged on, reports began flooding in from around the world. Zarkonian ships had taken up positions around Earth's major cities, their presence a clear threat. Human colonies on distant worlds reported being surrounded by Imperial fleets. In orbit, the International Space Station had become an impromptu command center. Dr. Samantha Chen found herself working alongside military strategists, her expertise on Zarkonian technology suddenly invaluable. Their ships have a vulnerability, Chen explained, pointing to a holographic model. The gravitational field generators they use for propulsion, they're incredibly efficient, but they have a specific resonance frequency. If we can disrupt that frequency, we might be able to disable their ships without destroying them. General Laura Harper, the newly appointed head of Earth's Unified Defense Force, nodded approvingly. Good work, Doctor. We need every advantage we can get. Our fleet is outnumbered and outgunned, but if we can level the playing field. As Earth prepared its defenses, a controversial plan was taking shape. A small team of human diplomats and scientists, led by Dr. Rodriguez, would attempt to make contact with moderate factions within the Zarkonian Empire. If they could sow doubt about the wisdom of this conflict, they might be able to buy Earth some time. Meanwhile, in a classified facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a group of human scientists and engineers were working around the clock on Project Prometheus, an attempt to reverse engineer and improve upon Zarkonian technology. Dr. James Morton, the project lead, addressed his team with fierce determination. What we're attempting here has never been done before. We're not just copying their tech. We're going to improve it, adapt it to human ingenuity. The fate of our species depends on what we accomplish in this room. As the deadline for Earth's response to the ultimatum approached, the UN Security Council reconvened. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would not submit. The UN Secretary-General delivered humanity's response in a globally broadcast address. To Ambassador Zorax and the Zarkonian Empire, we, the people of Earth, respectfully decline your offer of surrender. We acknowledge our imperfections, but it is through overcoming our challenges that we grow and evolve. We extend an invitation for peaceful dialogue, but make no mistake, we will defend our freedom with every fiber of our being. The response was met with cheers and applause around the world. Humanity, it seemed, had found unity in the face of an existential threat. The Zarkonian reaction was swift and severe. Within hours of Earth's refusal, the first attacks began. Zarkonian ships launched surgical strikes against military installations and spaceports around the globe. But humanity was not caught unprepared. Earth's defensive systems, hastily upgraded with insights gained from studying Zarkonian technology, sprang into action. Energy shields flickered to life over major cities, deflecting the worst of the alien assault. In orbit, the first true space battle in human history unfolded. Earth's fledgling fleet of spacecraft, a mix of retrofitted civilian vessels and experimental military designs, engaged the Zarkonian Armada. Aboard the EDF Resilience, Earth's flagship, Captain Michael Tang watched the battle unfold with a mix of awe and terror. "Remember your training," he addressed his crew. "We may be outnumbered, but we have surprise on our side. They don't expect us to be able to fight back. Let's show them what humanity is capable of." The human fleet put up a fierce resistance. Dr. Chen's insights proved invaluable. By emitting targeted electromagnetic pulses at the correct frequency, human ships were able to temporarily disable Zarkonian vessels, evening the odds. On the ground, the situation was equally intense. Zarkonian dropships attempted to land troops in major cities, but they were met with unexpectedly stiff resistance. Civilian militias fought alongside professional soldiers, using guerrilla tactics to confound the alien invaders. In New York, a young paramedic named Sarah O'Coife found herself leading a group of civilians in a daring rescue operation. They snuck past Zarkonian patrols to evacuate a trapped group of schoolchildren, showcasing the kind of adaptability and courage that would become emblematic of humanity's resistance. As the first day of conflict drew to a close, both sides had suffered losses, but neither had gained a decisive advantage. The Zarkonians were taken aback by the ferocity and ingenuity of human resistance, while humanity was grimly coming to terms with the reality of interstellar war. In the depths of space, Dr. Rodriguez and her diplomatic team approached a Zarkonian outpost, hoping against hope to open a channel of communication. Their mission was dangerous, possibly even suicidal, but if there was even a chance of ending this conflict peacefully, they had to try. Back on Earth, in the Project Prometheus facility, Dr. Morton and his team had achieved a breakthrough. They had successfully integrated Zarkonian gravitational field technology with human plasma physics, creating a prototype weapon that could potentially turn the tide of the war. As reports of the day's battles trickled in, the UN Security Council met once again to assess the situation. The human spirit had proven resilient, but the Zarkonian technological advantage was clear. If humanity was to survive this conflict, they would need every ounce of courage, ingenuity, and determination they could muster. The war for Earth's freedom had begun, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. But in facing this existential threat, humanity had discovered a unity and purpose unlike anything in its history. The coming days would test them to their limits, but they were ready to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when pushed to the brink. As the first stars became visible in the war-torn skies of Earth, humanity steeled itself for the battles to come. The Zarkonians had sought to impose their version of harmony on the human race, but in doing so, they had awakened a force they could never have anticipated, the indomitable human spirit. The human paradox. 3 months into the war, the Zarkonian High Command was in a state of disarray. What they had anticipated would be a swift subjugation of an inferior species had turned into a protracted and costly conflict. Fleet Admiral Zexara, the architect of the invasion, faced her peers with mandibles clicking in agitation. "How is this possible?" she demanded, gesturing at the holographic display of Earth's defenses. "They were practically primitives when we first contacted them. Now they're holding off the might of the Imperial fleet." Science Counselor Velox stepped forward, his antenna twitching nervously. We may have miscalculated, Admiral. Human adaptability appears to far exceed our initial estimates." On the other side of the galaxy, that adaptability was on full display. The Project Prometheus facility had become the beating heart of human resistance. Dr. James Morton stood before a group of international leaders, unveiling humanity's latest breakthrough. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, barely containing his excitement, "I present to you the Graviton Disruptor Array." He gestured to a sleek, almost organic-looking device. By combining Zarkonian gravitational field technology with our own advances in quantum entanglement, we've created a weapon that can disable entire Zarkonian fleets without destroying them. The room erupted in applause. This was the game-changer they had been hoping for. In orbit, the fruits of human ingenuity were already making a difference. Captain Michael Tang, now Admiral of Earth's growing space fleet, watched with pride as a squadron of fighters executed a maneuver that would have been impossible just months ago. "Graviton surfing," he explained to his XO. "By riding the gravitational waves produced by Zarkonian ships, our fighters can perform tight turns and achieve speeds that confound their targeting systems." The human fighters danced around the bulkier Zarkonian cruisers, their agility and unpredictability turning what should have been a one-sided battle into a fair fight. On the ground, humanity's resistance was equally innovative. In the ruins of Sydney, now a front line in the ground war, a group of civilians-turned-soldiers had repurposed Zarkonian communication technology into a city-wide neural network. Led by a former video game designer named Aisha Chakrabarti, they coordinated their guerrilla tactics with an efficiency that left the Zarkonian ground forces in disarray. "They never fight the same way twice," complained Ground Commander Calrex to his superiors. "Every time we adapt to their tactics, they change them. It's like fighting shadows." But perhaps the most significant human innovation came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, whose diplomatic mission had been intercepted and captured by the Zarkonians, had turned her imprisonment into an opportunity. Using her deep understanding of Zarkonian culture and language, she had begun to sow seeds of doubt among her captors. She spoke to them of human concepts like individual liberty, creativity born from diversity, and the strength found in overcoming adversity. "Your empire seeks harmony," she told a young Zarkonian guard, "but true harmony isn't imposed from above. It's found in the beautiful complexity of individual nodes working together in a dynamic system." Her words began to spread, first among the lower ranks, then upward. Some Zarkonians began to question the wisdom of the war, seeing in humanity a reflection of their own species' long-forgotten past. Back on Earth, Dr. Samantha Chen had made a breakthrough in understanding the ancient technology from Novus. "It's not a weapon," she explained to the UN Security Council. "It's a library, a repository of knowledge from a long-dead civilization, and it contains information about the Zarkonians that they themselves seem to have forgotten." The revelation sent shockwaves through both human and Zarkonian society. The data suggested that the Zarkonians had once been a species much like humans, diverse, individualistic, and innovative. Their current homogeneous society was a result of millennia of carefully controlled evolution and social engineering. As this information spread, thanks to human hackers who had managed to infiltrate Zarkonian communication networks, it caused a crisis of identity within the empire. Many Zarkonians began to see humans not as a threat to be subjugated, but as a mirror of their own lost heritage. The war reached a turning point during the Battle of Mars. The Red Planet, recently colonized by humans, had become a key strategic location. The Zarkonian Empire committed a significant portion of their fleet to take it, confident in their superior numbers and technology. But humanity had prepared a surprise. As the Zarkonian fleet entered Mars orbit, they were met not just by human ships, but by a fully operational graviton disruptor array hidden beneath the planet's surface. Admiral Tang gave the order, "Activate the array." A wave of gravitational distortion swept across space, causing Zarkonian ships to lose power and drift helplessly. Human ships, equipped with shielding developed by Project Prometheus, were unaffected. In the ensuing battle, humanity achieved its first major victory of the war. Hundreds of Zarkonian ships were captured intact, their crews taken prisoner. The aftermath of the Battle of Mars marked a shift in the conflict. Humanity, once on the defensive, began to push back. Human fleets, bolstered by captured and reverse-engineered Zarkonian technology, started to venture beyond the solar system, liberating human colonies and even striking at Zarkonian outposts. But it wasn't just military victories that were turning the tide. Dr. Rodriguez's message of cultural exchange and mutual understanding had taken root. A growing movement within the Zarkonian Empire called for an end to the war and a reassessment of their society's core values. Zarkonian scientists, inspired by human adaptability, began to question the rigid thought patterns that had defined their research for generations. They started to experiment with more creative approaches, leading to a renaissance of innovation within the empire. 6 months into the war, humanity had not only survived, but was thriving in the face of adversity. The conflict had driven unprecedented advancements in technology, social organization, and even human evolution. reports of humans developing latent psychic abilities began to surface, a response to exposure to exotic energies from Zirconian weapons. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the UN Secretary-General addressed the Security Council. "We stand at a crossroads," she said. "We have proven that humanity cannot be subjugated, but now we must decide. Do we press our advantage and take the war to the heart of the Zirconian Empire, or do we extend an olive branch, offering a chance for mutual understanding and peace?" As the debate raged, news came in of a coup within the Zirconian High Command. A faction led by younger, more progressive leaders had seized control, advocating for an immediate cessation of hostilities and the opening of true dialogue with humanity. In orbit around Earth, aboard the flagship of the human fleet, Admiral Tang received a transmission. It was Ambassador Zorax, the once hawkish Zirconian diplomat who had delivered the ultimatum that started the war. "Admiral Tang," Zorax began, his voice heavy with emotion, "on behalf of the new Zirconian government, I hereby request an immediate ceasefire and the opening of peace negotiations." As cheers erupted across the bridge, Tang allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. But the real test was yet to come. Could these two species, so recently locked in mortal combat, find a way to coexist and even collaborate? The war might be ending, but the true challenge of building a lasting peace was just beginning. As Earth prepared to take its place as an equal on the galactic stage, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope and determination. The paradox of humanity, its wonderful, terrible, beautiful complexity, had proven to be its greatest strength. And now, that paradox promised to reshape the very fabric of galactic society.